Here is a video on some of the tips and tricks that I've learned about using Silverfire products, both the Hunter, which I don't show here, but this is a Mongolian water dragon, and I found newer ways to use this that might not have been thought of before. So first of all, the water dragon is not sold by Todd anymore, and Silverfire. They used to sell it. They said that not too many people liked it. It's really too bad. It's a great machine. It's basically a dragon, but it also has the water jacket on the back. So there's probably a gallon and a half or so of hot water that gets distributed here. Great for cooking a meal and then being able to do your dishes or a shower afterwards. So first of all, I'm not really thinking survival stuff anymore. I'm in South Central Alaska, 13 miles from the nearest road, so I'm really I want to get stuff going. And this is really the way that I cook most of the time. So I'm using small stuff. This is spruce, a little bit of chips here. And then this is cottonwood. It's what we have out here, so it's not the best wood, but I use that. So this is my tinder, essentially. That's my primary wood. And then for starting it, I don't use any kind of other techniques, no alcohol and cotton stuff. I just go and hit it with the propane torch, and that fires it right up. As I don't have time for goofing around. So once it's going, these things are really, really hot. They're really made for boiling big pots of water. But I wanted to do other things, sautéing, whatever. So what I did is once I get it going, I want to put something on it that I don't mind that soot is going to get on. In this case, I will start my tea, and this is chaga tea with mint, spruce tips, and devil's club root. And I'll just let that boil for a while and let the whole thing kind of settle down. Now, if I want to do French toast like I did this morning, I might not want to put my pot right on there because it can get very hot. So I've got this Lodge. It's a Lodge. I saw this on a YouTube video. It's a Lodge flat griddle. Fits right on top. Also fits on the Silverfire Hunter. And then what I did this morning is I took this big cast iron pan that I didn't want to have a bunch of soot on, put it right on there, and it worked beautifully. French toast, whatever. So that's one technique. The other thing is I just bought the wok. Fits right on the hole there. Perfect. I really like that. I also, a couple months ago, I bought the Dragon Pot. You've probably seen this on his videos already, but this is a one, I think it's about 1.7 gallons, but it's got a massive skirt on it, which I love. So the fire is touching not only pi r squared on the bottom for area, but also, as you can see, it's skirted there. So that jacket brings it all the way up the sides. So you also have 2 pi r times h. So there's a lot more area that fire is hitting. Absolutely love that for getting my shower going, that sort of thing. So then again, if I've got this flat guy on the top, I can also put something that I don't want to have soot on. This little stainless steel deal. I don't want to get soot on that. So that goes on top of there. Now, and by the way, this ring here can go on the top, and then you can use smaller pots. And I use that when I'm doing the pressure cooker. So a pressure cooker plus one of these stoves is very, very powerful. So this thing will go up to 257 degrees and go 15 psi above atmospheric. So very cool is that I can do something like a pot roast in about 40 minutes. And I can also do, this is called pan and pot, I think it's called. So you can do other things in there at the same time. But you can do something like a pot roast that might take normally 3 hours. You can knock it out in 45 minutes. I'll make bone broth in 45 minutes, which is beautiful. It also saves a lot of wood. Not that I have any lack of wood out here. Just the deadfall off of my property is enough to keep this thing running just constantly if I wanted to. So the things that I learned from all this is if I really want to tone this thing down, because it is extremely powerful. I mean, I've seen flames out this high at the top of it. If I want to tone it down, I'm going to use something like this and put it on top of there. But then, and all of all of his T-Lud type of products, you can take out the center. Right now you might see a little ash down there. Usually, if you leave the damper open, you're going to be left with just about all gray ash. But I've decided that if I want to tone down the cooking, I want to start using charcoal more. And not charcoal like you get in a bag. So obviously I'm not dragging that stuff out here. The best thing I did is I would take this, the T-Lud, the canister out. I'll have gray ash plus some black ash or black charcoal in there. I'll put it in here. You can see the holes on the bottom. I'll do all this. All the gray stuff falls to the bottom. The gray stuff I will use for fertilizer in my garden or for raising the pH of my garden. You can read about that later. And then the stuff that's the small stuff, or actually the medium, this is the medium size stuff that will be left over. I will put that back into the stove once I've got a fire going and I want to do long-term, fairly low temperature. Let's say I'm doing pressure cooker. Once I have this thing up to speed, I want to use as hot as I can get until it's up to speed and up to 15 psi above atmospheric. And then I want to go to something very slow. And that's where this really comes in. And the beauty of charcoal is I can turn my damper up and down, and I can watch the coals get hotter and redder, or I can see it go down. So I've converted this from 110 volt to 12 volts just because of where I am. And then I've got it turned all the way down right now. By the way, this is all in Chinese, so I had to get an interpreter to get the directions. So this is turned all the way down. If I shut this off at night and I turn this all the way down, so this is how you turn it on. If I turn it off and I shut that damper down, I get a lot more of this black charcoal, or the big stuff. And I really go out of my way to make that happen. If I need more of the gray, let's say I need it more for fertilizer, then I would turn that all the way up, and it would burn more completely, and I'd have more of that gray ash. So here I've got this black stuff. I use this not only for cooking, but then also I will crush it up even further and use it in my garden as biochar. You can read all about that. Great stuff. Your garden will just love that. The big stuff, the biggest pieces, I'll end up using that in my Weber grill. So tonight I'm going to spatchcock a chicken in my Weber grill. So 3 different products that come out of the bottom of one of these, whether it's the Hunter or the Water Dragon, that you can use for other things. Obviously I'm out in the middle of nowhere, so I use absolutely everything. Every piece of cellulose and lignin that comes off of my property has a use. Let's see, I want to make sure I'm not missing anything. I think that pretty well covered it. So, how to turn this thing into a super hot dragon to something that's fairly laid back, so that I can start doing things like wok cooking and sauteing and that sort of thing. So, Todd, if you have anything else that you want me to take a look at out in the middle of Alaska, feel free to send it my way, and I'll put it through its paces.